everyone, and thank you so much. I'm really excited to be moderating this panel because last year I got to be in the hot seat, so I know what it feels like. It's actually going to be really fun. I won't throw too many hard balls at you guys. This is going to be fun because of the fact that we all kind of want to take a nap right now. We've had lunch, our bellies are full, but this is you up here. We are each other's peers, and we're going to be able to learn from each other, our successes, our failures. So first, introductions. This is Peter Zollo. He is the co-founder of Collaborata.
It's close.
Collaborata, apologies. And then we've got Matt Gershner, EVP of Sales and Marketing at Remesh. Remesh? No, okay, I didn't. I was like, I thought I looked into that. Sorry. Then we have Madeline Warren, Marketing Director at Opinions for Good. And Dorothy, apologies on the last name. Chalisky, thank you. She is the president of Fresh Squeezed Ideas. So, without further ado, let's just kind of jump into it. I believe last year we didn't even get through half the questions, so let's roll. Dorothy, I will actually start with you. Generally speaking, how are we marketers doing market research? What do you think?
Oh, that's a very broad, big question.
Yeah.
You're going to ask me what we're doing. Well, I mean, everyone's trying for sure because we're in the space, right? So if you're in the space, you're looking at what everybody else is doing. So a lot of the things that were mentioned today, we have to look at our competitor websites. We have to look at social media. There is a lot coming up. Participating in webinars, a lot of people are doing webinars, a lot of people are exhibiting. So I mean, the efforts are being made. It's not like we're not marketing for market research. I think the question is, how do we break through with our message, right? And that's, question for any marketer with any product or brand or service. And I think that's what needs to be figured out, knowing what you do, how you do it, why you do it, how you differentiate yourself. I think that's the toughest question ever. And then once you have that focus, and so I'll talk about that later, I guess, too. Once you have that focus, then really driving that focus and becoming known for that in the space. Because I totally agree, you can't be everything to everybody and say, we do everything, we can do anything. You end up being known for nothing. And I think also, when you meet with clients, they want to figure out kind of where to put you. And then when they have a project, you want them to think of you. So you have to be focused, but at the same time not too narrow, but then you can't go broad. It's really tough, for sure, but you need a focus, you need a niche, and then drive that.
Yeah. What are you doing right now for Fresh Squeeze Ideas or any time in the past to differentiate yourselves?
So what's been really successful is probably in the last couple of years or so, our focus is the integration of behavioral science and cultural anthropology. That is, in my opinion, and what we've been seeing in the marketplace, quite differentiating. Lots of people talk about behavioral science, behavioral economics. We just came out of a 2-day conference about behavioral economics. IIEX North America, the theme is behavioral economics. So there's a lot of tools out there. There's a lot of technologies out there. Everyone's talking behavioral economics. What I have found really worked, what we've been doing is we've been educating about behavioral economics and about behavioral science. So what we're finding too is clients, yes, it's the buzzword, everybody wants to be doing it, but a lot of clients will say to us, well, how do you apply it? What is it? When we present, clients will say, I've heard the term behavioral economics, and that's all I know. So what we've been doing is we've been going out and educating. So instead of going in and talking about ourselves and having 20 slides about who we are, how long we've been around, what we do, who our team is, et cetera, et cetera. Sure, we have that, probably 4 slides or so in a pitch deck or a capabilities. Clients don't, they invited you. They kind of already have a sense of who you are. but really we spend the time educating and taking them through what is behavioral science, what does it mean. Once they have a good understanding of that, then going right into case studies and talking together about how that now has been applied, how we've been applying it in healthcare, pharmaceutical, consumer, again, in the fields that we work in. And also by presenting case studies, that opens up a conversation, because then clients start to think, okay, well, I have that question too. I have that challenge. Do you think you can answer this using this method? And then you have a discussion right there. It's been really, really successful. So again, that in person, we've done webinars. When we blog, information on our website, a lot of it is focused on education.
Yeah, great, thank you. So if we go back to my original question, how are we doing as marketers for market researchers? Matt, do you have feelings about that?
In general, pretty bad.
All right.
In most cases, you have to remember what everyone's in business for, and that's to sell. My title is sales and marketing, but there's no question I'm a salesperson. In a small company, I wear a couple hats, more than a couple. But anything that you do around marketing has to be in support of the sales function. And so if you are marketing to think that, gee, a little bit more sales, search engine optimization is going to get you, 100 inbound leads a week, it's not going to happen. You've got to wrap your marketing program around a sales strategy. And so to us, we're a 12-person company, and I think we exhibited at somewhere between 15 and 18 conferences this year. Attending others just as attendees for networking purposes. It's exhausting, but it's hand-to-hand combat. And so, if you're just saying, my website's going to do it all, well, you have to drive people to that. People have to go figure out why they're going to come look at your website. And then once they do, then what? So again, your marketing has to be in support of sales. And when you look around, I think that most people market because it's easier to have a marketing person than truly have a sales strategy.
Dorothy, I have a question for you. What are some of the examples in your marketing successes that you've had? Sorry, I meant Madeline. I was looking at Madeline. Sorry, what was Dorothy, I'll ask you as well, but this is open also for everybody, so if I'm not calling your name, just grab that mic from someone else.
Can you repeat the question?
No, please don't. Yes. So what are some of the examples of the marketing successes that you've had? We've talked a lot this morning, or we've heard speakers on about all the different strategies that we plan for and try to implement. So what are some of the successes, especially coming from nonprofit sector, that might be a little different, maybe? So
yeah,
tell me about it.
So one of the successes that we recently had is we did a research project with Gray Matter Research on, we interviewed 1,000 donors and we created the donor mindset study, and that got picked up by a lot of different news outlets, but it wasn't just like overnight success. We had this huge study and we broke it up into 8 different parts. And something that I learned from that is you can have all this information, but space it out over time, and you can really use all that information over like a year. That was a huge success, and we got a lot of different leads from that. We're in the Nonprofit Times, the Philanthropy News outlets, so that was definitely something that was huge for us. And catering around like our blog strategy and SEO, it's all intertwined. It's not just, plug it out there and hopefully it's going to stick on the wall. You really have to work for it and plan it out, have a good strategy.
That being said, was there anything in that time, that whole strategy to get it out there, that it just didn't work? Was there any part of that just kind of rose to the top and said, no, this isn't working, we got to shift gears? Any component?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you'll go after something and you'll think it's gonna, gonna resonate with everyone, but obviously it doesn't. So we tried Google AdWords campaigns, and I'm not the most technical person in the world, so trying that for the first time was totally challenging. We had our website, did the whole Google AdWords campaign, spent, a couple $100s on it and figured out the end, oh, our website wasn't mobile optimized. And so having that failure really helped us in the long run, because we were able to come back and realize all these people are visiting our websites through mobile. We need to have it mobile optimized. And there's actually like an option on Google AdWords that you check and say, yes, people can visit your advertisement through a mobile, or no, they can't. And so if you're going to check that box, you better hope that your website is mobile optimized. And so that failure really spoke to us, and we were able to come back and redo our website. We're in the middle of a branding change right now, and so that failure helped us in the long run.
Great, thank you. Peter, what do you think? What are some of your successes that you've had?
I was hoping to talk about failures.
Okay, we'll get there.
Okay. Bigger picture, to answer your question and to sort of build on what my neighbor here said too. When you take a look at websites where we're trying to drive people to, right, of research agencies, so many of them sound totally interchangeable. And I've done that exercise. They all, so guess what? We all give good insights that are actionable, and we get through them methodologically sound, and we care about you as a client and as a brand. They all say the same things. So before I was at Collaborata, I founded and was the CEO of a company called TRUE, which is an acronym for Teenage Research Unlimited. We got acquired by WPP and Kantar. So I had the great experience for about 5 years when I managed the company under WPP to travel to a lot of their global summits with all of the Kantar CEOs. And I remember at the very first one, which I think was in Dubai, Eric Salama, who was then and still is the Kantar CEO, said, I want to go around the room and I want to know from each of your CEOs what you actually stand for that's differentiating, memorable, and meaningful. And except for Miller Brown, and I would say ourselves, they struggled. And even amongst themselves, they sounded similar. It was really easy. We got to say, we know youth. And so clearly one of the things that we continue to learn, and now Collaborata, which is very different for those of you who don't know, instead of, the great thing is we no longer do the work anymore. Instead, we sort of provide an alternative distribution and marketing channel for other research agencies to get multi-client projects funded. We've had this amazing perspective of seeing how research firms are marketing themselves, and also what their deliverables are like, what their proposals are like. So on top of what I learned from one of the global giants, I'm seeing it among a lot of the smaller players as well. But I'm seeing the same lessons, is that there's an incredible need to differentiate. Let me try that again. Differentiate. Can you say that for me?
Differentiate.
Thank you. In a meaningful, inventive way that's memorable because it's real. And you have to be able to own what you say. And very few do. So you've got to really think about what you can be the best at in the world at, and figure out how to get there.
I'll jump in on that one.
Yeah.
I think if we asked everyone in the room to describe, all your best qualities, people would struggle, because it's hard to, turn your ego on and say, this is what I'm best at. Now, when you do it from a corporate sense, now you're stuck with the same, list of synonyms that your competition's using. I work for a company that is an artificial intelligence software platform that allows a moderator to run a focus group of hundreds or even thousands of people online at one time with real-time data analysis. That's my go-to-market message. That's what I can tell people that I do very succinctly. And have you ever heard anyone else say a statistically significant qualitative research exercise? But it takes a while to get there. And you have to know your product and be able to stand on the top of a mountain and say what we do and what we do best, and here's what no one else can do. Because, all right, everything else is interchangeable until you have that differentiator.
Great. Thanks, guys. What do you, Peter, you never really got to your failures.
So,
Jimmy's here somewhere, right?
so we've had, I'll give you from a couple different perspectives. At True, when we were acquired by Kantar, we sort of failed as hard as we tried to remain our own culture and to remain a distinctive brand within a big, very corporate, very bureaucratic organization. That was really very difficult to do. And it was lost not only for True as a brand, and I'll say that there were 35 people who were there when we were acquired, and now I think there are only 5 remaining. But it was also a loss for Kantar. Fortunately, we grew the business enough in the 5 years that, the return on investment was there. From Collaborata, what we're learning is the sorts of projects that we post are actually those that serve client needs, and because of our sort of unique view into this world that allow sharing. So what we do is crowdfund market research projects. So we've failed by having sort of the wrong projects on there that aren't necessarily presented and priced and promoted correctly. Fortunately, we have data which is now guiding us as to the type of project and also how it ought to be priced, promoted, and presented. But we're continuing to learn that. It's still very much of a qualitative assessment as to know, what are really the needs now of enough clients that could actually come together and work together collaboratively to end up in a place where the outcome is really smart insights that you can all take back on and use uniquely through your own brand lens.
Awesome. Thank you.
Keep going.
Okay. I am curious, Dorothy, I'm going to go back to you and actually go back to you this time. Sorry. What marketing channels work best for you?
Face-to-face meetings.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, you can still, I think everything else drives maybe awareness of your name and who you are and what you do, but I think when it comes to those true leads, and we'll call them conversions, like what actually gets you the projects, the revenue, the growth, you have to go for the face-to-face meetings. Mm-hmm. That's what we have found has been most successful. It's been said in this room too, at the end of the day, right? People buy from people. So they have to like you and they have to like the team. It takes an effort. So Matt was saying, you exhibit. We don't have a tool or a technology, so we don't have an exhibit space where we're showcasing us. It's all about our thinking and our approach. It's all about the people. Mm-hmm. So for us, it is really important to get those face-to-face meetings.
Yeah. How do you go about getting those face-to-face meetings? Are these inbound leads? Are these leads that you are calling sales call, like cold calls? Are they from conferences?
Do cold calls. Yeah, so lots of different ways. We don't do cold calls. That scares me. I've never done that before. I don't think anybody likes to do that. But we do have a CRM.
I'm not surprised, Matt.
Sorry, really? Wow. We do have a CRM system that's built into our website that tracks leads. Mm-hmm. So essentially, lots of calls to action on the website. So if anyone, we say, raises their hand and wants to talk, I get an email automatically and I can reach out to that person. So already they've indicated interest. It's a warm lead, right? Already, it's much easier to speak to that person. So that's your inbound that way. Mm-hmm. When we host webinars, for example, same thing, people come to you, but we also make an effort to reach back out to people who were interested in our webinar and what we had to say. So again, you reach back out, you see if they would like more information, and then again, we try to go for that face-to-face meeting. Mm-hmm. And again, once somebody has engaged with you or has been interested in your offering, and then you reach out on a personal level, sometimes it's hard for them to, maybe they won't respond, but if they do, then usually they'll say, sure, maybe we can do a call, or maybe you guys can come in. It's really just an hour of their time. Mm-hmm. And that's very successful.
Good, good. Do you do email marketing? Like, I know you don't do cold calls.
Oh, yes,
but-
we do.
Yep.
We do. So we also have blogs that around, thought leadership, again, around behavioral science and cultural anthropology that kind of everybody in the company contributes to. It's not one person that, has been designated to write. So we put out kind of once a month blog or newsletters that we send out, again, to people who have signed up to receive communications. So yeah, we do that about once a month. And again, that's successful because we find sometimes people will email back and say, oh, this was really interesting. And I was just thinking about this. Maybe you guys can help. So again, those kinds of communications help maybe keep you top of mind.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Well, we know you cold called. You want to talk about that a little bit? Or your efforts?
Yeah, I mean, it goes with, I don't think I've ever taken a job where I haven't asked, it's a sales job, of course, where I haven't asked the person who's looking to hire me to sell me, to tell me why I want to work for them. And so you have to have that confidence behind it. You have to have your pitch down, as I said before. You need to be able to be very concise and say what you do differently. But it goes back to the confidence. I mean, if you believe in the product that you're selling, get on the phone, make the phone call, get past the gatekeeper. It's harder these days. I mean, not everyone even has landlines anymore. And so, there's a step of the process before you make the cold call, and that's lead generation. And so, and again, I mentioned it earlier, we determined that every dollar that we're going to spend in marketing this year was going to be name brand awareness. We are going to, in a hand-to-hand combat sort of way, exhibit at conferences, thought leadership. My CEO is a very engaging character. He's absolutely brilliant. He is a computational and theoretical physicist. He's a former academic, and so we put him up in front of, conferences to talk about artificial intelligence, and leads come in from that. People see us, they get our business cards, our marketing materials, but you have to follow up, you have to call, you have to, see a name written. My favorite is I see someone who authors an article. I pick up the phone and call them, and I say, that was a great article, or I don't agree with you, but hey, I want to talk about it anyway. And those are some of the best leads I've had in my entire career, is just, talking to someone about, they put time and effort into something. That's a cold call. I mean, they don't know you, but it's about confidence. And you know what? Don't take it personally. I spoke at Insights Marketing Day last year in New York. I did a whole piece on a big part of it was on cold calling. Do not take it personally. Okay? You cannot sell if you take it personally. Sales is about rejection. So, listen, I didn't take it personally when I was a single guy dating, and I don't take it personally in business. Everyone's doing their job. Now, I think I have the best product for them, and if they don't understand it, I'll find someone else that does. It's a numbers game. There's no shortage of potential customers out there, and I'm going to beat the numbers game.
Did I build on that a little bit?
Please.
So,
About dating?
not about dating, but about selling, and I would agree with you. And so many market and research agencies, and today is somewhat reflective of it, sort of default to marketing because selling is harder and harder. There is no question, no landlines, no conference rooms. When you get somebody's out of office and you're asked to talk to somebody in their stead, you don't get their email. Everything's about protecting them. So how do you get through to corporate research buyers? So with an appropriate plug, and thanks to Green Book, we're actually in the midst of coming out with a research study now that's called Corporate Researchers Speak, how to engage and sell us to become a preferred partner. And interestingly, in selling this to market research suppliers, and we're only one sale short, only the CEOs will buy this. Because if you sell into a director of sales, a director of marketing, another partner within the organization, they said, we understand what our clients want. And what's really interesting, we targeted those research suppliers whose sales have been declining, yet they believe they know what their clients want. We don't think they do. So we're going to find out. So we're actually doing a really interesting qualitative deep dive. We're not doing the work, but we have a number of firms are together who are partnering on it that will sort of reveal an empathetic understanding of how best to sell into corporate research firms. And I think that would be really, really interesting. So we'll give, I think, everybody a much more informed way of how to first sell in and then also how to cultivate and develop these relationships. So really, really important.
Madeline, what is your best marketing channel?
I have to agree with the face-to-face. Our industry is really trade show focused. We go to a lot of different trade shows. We were just at TMRE a couple weeks ago. We're going to another Green Book IIEX one in a few weeks. But something we've been doing to try and differentiate ourselves from the exhibit person next to us is having our clients write in that 10 by 10 exhibit space with us. So we went to UXPA Usability Research Conference last year, and we exhibited with our client measuring usability. And to have, we're talking about like our testimonials, and to have like a real live warm body right next to you, giving you a testimonial to a potential client is A, very great. 2, we're cultivating the relationship with that client, so that face-to-face, like a triangle action, that's like what we really do, what like really works for us. But besides like a face-to-face strategy, we also recently started email marketing. But we didn't just like jump right into it and say we're gonna spam our clients with emails. You kind of have to take a step back and say, okay, what's the strategy? How are we going to be delivering like a thoughtful message to these clients so that they don't get turned off by it? And also having a good technology to send those emails so that when they receive it, it's not hi name or hi, like put name in here, it's hi Joe, like, so it's more personalized. So you can't just jump into that. We use HubSpot for everything from email marketing to social media planning to our hosting our blog to keyword research. So that's what we use for that. When I create marketing or social media posts, our clients really like to see pictures and graphics, and so to do that I use Canva. I also use Piktochart. Our industry, it's all about data and analytics, and to give an infographic is a great short piece of information, but it's really great for creating awareness, but it's not great for closing that lead. Infographics are a good just like snippet of information that you can deliver and say, hey, we have this, we're credible, we've done this study in the past. And then hopefully it'll like lead them to the next step of going onto your website and deeper diving into like what you do as a company.
Great. So we have just less than 10 minutes now, so I do want to open it up for audience questions. I have more questions here, so if we don't have any audience participation, that's fine. But does anybody have any questions?
So I'd like to go back to when we were talking about how to kind of like build a differentiation for I hear what you're saying about kind of opening up. I think one of you used the phrase opening up and talking about the things that you're actually good at. So we're a qualitative market research company, and we focus on a couple of key verticals. One of those is technology. And the reason why we're good at doing technology qualitative research is because I used to be a technologist. So it's interesting to think about how do we talk about the fact that we're good at technology research, for example, because I used to be a technologist, without diluting the value of what we do as a company, which is qualitative market research.
What was the last thing you published to Green Book or to Quarks or to any other periodical? What have you submitted any sort of content for presentation at a conference. That's how you do it. That's your differentiation. You know, you show thought leadership in that case. I mean, if you don't have a tangible product, you know, and case studies. We're doubling down on case studies. It's all great to say you do something, but until someone sees how you've done it for someone else like them, you know, it's just, it's vaporware. Coming from the tech side, you'll get that. So put together, you know, there's 50 conferences you could potentially attend and or contribute to next year. You know, there's no shortage of periodicals as well. Just take that practice. That's a no-brainer, especially if you truly have an area of expertise or two or three in the organization. Each one of you should be authoring things that come out, you know, for thought leadership.
I can add to what Matt was saying. So I was going to say case studies as well. So again, sounds like you have, sorry? You did. But again, if you're saying you have expertise in a particular space, so then it's thinking about how have you applied your expertise to kind of common business questions or challenges that are specific to the technology space, right? You probably know better than anyone else if they don't work in that space, right? So something, again, very focused, very pointed. You don't have to divulge, you know, all of the information, but, you know, here was a business challenge that other, you know, people will nod and say, okay, well, yeah, I'm familiar with that. And then how did you go about solving that? And again, as a qualitative market research company, maybe you have a method or something you've developed that's a little bit different from what another qualitative market research company, we do that a lot sometimes. I mean, the questions, in a way, the business questions could be very similar, but then how did you go about solving them? You know, what we've brought in, for example, techniques from clinical psychology into this space that nobody has ever seen. So, and then we will showcase that. You know, here we have used this method to answer this question, and here were the results. And clients go, wow, that's, you know, it's amazing. You know, we have this question. Do you think your thing could answer that? Right? And then again, now you open up the conversation. It works really well. Yeah.
Got only just 3 minutes left. Do we have any other questions? Christian? I know him.
So over the last 15 years, obviously, and we're seeing the buyer themselves changing from, you know, my father to someone that basically went to school with me and things like that. Have you felt or noticed there's a difference to engaging these individuals now? Like these buyers. We talk a lot about the millennial audiences that our brands serve, but the millennials are starting to buy our products now as well as agency owners. Is there anything different about them, or have you noticed anything different?
Yeah, can I take that? Yeah, that's very much sort of the genesis of our company. And I had studied generations, so I had studied, to date myself, Xers in their youth and millennials in their youth, and now Gen Zs who are now there, and very much so, what we wanted to do was to develop a company, a marketing research company that really was very intuitive for a millennial corporate research buyer. And they want to be able to buy research the same way they buy so many of the other things in their lives, from travel to books, to entertainment. So very much that's what we've built, is a marketplace in which they can collaborate, in which they can review, in which they can back or choose not to back, and be able to buy it as easily as anything else, as quickly, and there's new ideas there that can be shared with others. So it's really, in very many ways, bringing the sharing economy to marketing research, which in many ways feels very much counterintuitive to Xers and, of course, boomers who believe it's all about competitive. Why would we collaborate with our competitors? And to us, the answer is because you're going to learn a lot more, and it's really not about the data, which in very many ways has and should become democratized. It's about the lens through which you look at that data and you activate it, you know, for your own brand, for your own business.
And I'll add to that is, especially what I find selling to people that are younger than me, as I've gotten older, that becomes a lot more, obviously. Sell without selling. I mean, if you believe in your product, educate. Tell them why it's different, why it's better, what it can accomplish. You know, you lead the horse to water. And I think that when I interact with people that are younger, I think that is definitely the approach. They don't want to be sold to, but they do want to be educated. And so just make them smarter, and then make them feel that they'll be making a mistake if they don't, you know, align themselves with you, your product, your service, your company. I think that's been very effective. Just, you know, hardcore sales, and I learned sales from what I call Xerox graduates. You know, think about selling photocopiers back in the 90s. You know, I learned sales the hard way. Now it's much more subtle, and I think subtle, you know, wins if you have a differentiated product.
Great. So, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, because I had two things. Again, on the education too. So I think what we're hearing a lot too, clients have mandates to do certain things. Like certainly what I'm aware of, a lot of our clients saying, well, you know, we have to do something with behavioral science and behavioral economics, like our Kellogg's client. We'll say, you know, it's a mandate, it's coming from up top somewhere. They have to use new approaches, and sometimes, and again, especially when it comes to younger, they don't know. No one has shown them, nobody has taught them. So again, it goes back to, if you know that and if you understand that, educate them. Like really important. And also trying to really learn about your client, knowing what are their objectives, what are they trying to meet. Sometimes it's a big initiative, sometimes they just need to check the box, right? But again, broadening that conversation and trying to understand what do they need to achieve to be successful in their role and in their organization. Align yourself with that, and you know, you be the one, you know, to how can we help you do that, client. Yeah.
That's one thing. Education, yes, very important, but also remember, tell a story in your marketing. So tons of people, there's a ton of content out there, and sometimes we get bogged down by all this content, but telling a story and making it more relatable on an emotional basis, I think will attract people to, for a younger generation. And going out with 2 different pieces of content and getting feedback from people in your company, say, put a blind eye, don't know anything about what this company is, and tell me what this content is telling you. Does it tell a story? Is it thought leadership? So I think telling a story in your marketing is very important.
I'll add one last quick thing in there, is that it's okay to say no. You can't do everything. And I've won more business in my career by saying no, by saying we don't do that, by referring it to a friend who's then going to refer something else back to me, because you're not going to be able to do everything. And so, and quite honestly, if a client's asking for something that no one can do, and you're the first person to say no, and everyone else says yes, and they fail, you look that much better. And so again, you're going to, you know, educate them, but say no. You'll win more business eventually.
Oh, sorry, one more. Don't sell, help. I think we've heard that too. So yesterday I received a note from a client saying, you know, I'm going to be sending an RFP for this, this, and this. Would you guys be interested? I looked to see what it was. Actually really wasn't in our wheelhouse, not our core competency. I responded and told her that, you know, we can do this one thing, but we don't do that. So, and then I gave her a list of, but here are companies that I know can do these things for you. And she wrote me back right away and said, okay, well, thank you very much. Obviously, she was from procurement looking for companies to send it to. I said, but we really want you guys to respond, right? So, you know, again, you're, okay, well, you know, send me the RFP, I'll take a look. I haven't received it yet, but, you know, again, so you're not selling every time. You're not going to jump on every single thing that a client sends to you. Maybe you want to help instead. Yeah.
And all those things, I think, position us as trusted advisors with those clients, and that's that relational component that will keep them coming back for more business. So with that, thank you so much, you guys. I'm sure these guys will be around for the happy hour if you have any questions, and myself as well. Thank you very much.